the chest, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man. So, I went ahead and grabbed another one of the games of Wesley Souls from the Superbet Romania as part of the Grand Chess Tour. We're waiting on this next tournament to get rolling. The Poland Grand Chess Tour. I think it's Rapid and Blitz, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, man. So like I said, this is Alireza Firouzja versus Wesley. And without further ado, I got a couple of different languages to speak. So of course, for all of my people in the Philippines, I will say mabuhay. Kamusta na king makaibigan. Maraming salamat po sa nanonood ng king ma video. I appreciate it very much from you. Anybody who is coming from Iran, which is where Alireza Firouzja is originally from, I will say salam, man kelvin am, and kheli mamnoon. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. Anybody who is in France, I will say bonjour, bienvenue, merci beaucoup for watching my stuff. I appreciate it very much. C'est me fait plaisir de te voir. It's very nice to see you guys again. I think I covered everything. Bam. Yes, I did. But if you guys are ready to go, homie, let's see what we got for this game, son. So we got the move e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4, bishop to c5, and then we have the move d3, which is the Giuoco Pianissimo, which stands for very quiet game in Italian, but as you guys always know, these are rarely very quiet games. They're usually very loud, and this game is definitely no exception. We got the move d6, we got c3, so we have like very standard stuff. I'll kind of just get through this real quick. Bishop goes back to b6, we got castles, h6, knight b to d2, all very, very standard stuff in these positions. Knight goes to f6, we got bishop back to b3. So both players have like the same idea. They're like, hey man, I'm trying to save my bishop a little bit. And then we have the move a5, just a little different way to give your your bishop some air to breathe. We do see rook over to e1. We got castles by black. We got h3. Bishop goes to e6. And then we do have the novelty of the game, which is bishop takes e6. Now, in this exact position that we see here, we've seen three different moves up to this point. We've seen a knight up to c4, just kind of blocking and basically asking black, do you want to trade your bishop for my knight? We also just had bishop just retreating back here. And then maybe we might see like knight to f1 and this type of maneuver right here. Or we have also seen the move bishop over to a4. And I mean, this bishop can pretty much live here for quite a while because, I mean, this bishop is blocking this pawn, so you don't really have any way to, contest this bishop. So, I mean, we've seen all these things before, but like I said, we do see bishop taking e6. And this does give black just a little bit, black is definitely not winning the game by any means. But, I mean, you do have a really nice pawn center, and it does have the ability to get pushed. So this is a very similar idea that I see when I play the Sicilian as black, where bishop can go to e6, and then, you're contesting the other bishop, and then you're taking the center, and you're pushing d5, homie. So we do see knight to c4 now. We got bishop back to a7. We got bishop to e3. Bishop takes e3. Rook takes e3. We got the move a4. You don't really want to get any expansion on the queen side because, you can't start knocking black's pieces around a little bit. So a4 is just making sure we prevent that. We got the move d4, pawn takes d4, pawn takes d4, and then we have d5 like I was saying before. We do have the ability to start pushing some pawns in the center since we now have two central pawns. Pawn takes d5, pawn takes d5, knight c goes down to d2. We got queen to d6, we got a3. We don't want any pesky queen or knight situations jumping in because it can get kind of annoying. We got queen down to f4, giving a nice little attack on this d4 pawn. If black can get rid of one of, white's only left central pawn, then you do have a completely passed pawn on the d file, so you got to be careful about that. So the knight does come back to b1. We see knight down to e4. Knight goes to c3. Knight takes c3. Rook takes c3. Now, I mean, up to this point that we have in the game, I mean, everything has been pretty natural for both players. They've made very natural moves. They've actually made pretty much the best moves that you can make for either side up until this point, and we're at move 22. So, I mean, they might have seen this position before, or they're just going off of their knowledge. But, I mean, everything up to this point seems very natural to play. I mean, black has activated their queen. White has taken back with the rook instead of a pawn. If you take back with the pawn in this position, you are allowing this knight to hop down into the c4 square, or the b3 square, completely uncontested, and that's not really what we want. Right now, this knight is tied down, you know, after we maybe move rook over here type situation to the protection of this pawn. So it doesn't have free movability, but like I said, everything is pretty natural for both players up to this point. We got queen going back to d6. We got the rook a to c1, like I said, putting extra pressure on the c file. We do see the move of rook to f7. We got rook 1 to c2. We got the rook down to f4, just putting the absolute maximum amount of pressure on this d4 pawn. We got rook over to e3. Queen goes over to f6, maximizing even more the pressure that we have on this d4 pawn. As I said before, black really, really wants to get rid of... Why is my light going out, bro? What happened? All right. That's fine. I mean, I have a bunch of other lights, but I mean, my light went out over here. I don't know. Maybe it disconnected or something. I don't know. I'm going to investigate at some point. Anyway, I'll deal with it later. But yeah, so, you know, like I said, you know, black is putting the absolute maximum pressure on this pawn, trying to get rid of it, because then, like I said, I mean, this d pawn is going to be pretty killer. We got the rook over to d3. We got the rook over to e8. We got rook to c5, because why not go on your own counterattack on the d pawn? Queen goes back to d6. We see rook c to c3, rook f to e4. We got the move g3, just creating some space for the king a little bit more. He already kind of had some lift on a3, but we do see rook down to e2. We got rook to d2, rook takes d2, queen takes d2. And I mean, basically both players, I mean, it's giving triple zeros plus like 0.03 for white. So both of these players up to this point, they're really trying to squeeze water from stone. And I mean, you basically continue to play like this when you're either side, because you're wanting your opponent to make a bad move and start to kind of slip up, and then you can start to kind of get a foot in the door, and you can start, you know, doing a little something. So the queen does go to g6. We see king up to g2. Queen goes down to b1, but that just gets knocked away with rook to c1. Queen goes up to f5, and then rook goes back to c3. We got queen to b1 again. So basically, Wesley So is trying to put the pressure down, and you know, we're kind of asking if Firouzja is going to repeat, but Firouzja does go h4. He's like, bro, I don't want to draw. Like, I'm gonna just give that up. And I mean, I like this. I like both of the players fighting and not just saying, oh, we'll just go with a draw, because I honestly hate draws. I'll avoid a draw even at the cost of a loss all the time. Rook goes down to c1. Queen goes back to f5. Queen goes down to d1. We're making sure that we're not repeating any moves anywhere. We got the move g5. Pawn takes d5. Pawn takes g5. We got queen up to d2. We got the move g4. And you do have to be kind of a little careful in this position. I'm not sure how many of you guys are realizing, okay, my knight is attacked, but I mean, I got to check here and I can get out of it and stuff like that. The problem is it actually drops a pawn in the center of the board. So if we go queen to g5 with check, yeah, you are saving your knight, but you are dropping this pawn, and so this doesn't work. So, you know, you have to be careful to look out for these little, you know, these little tactics in the position. And now this rook is holding this pawn, so we don't have the ability to capture now. And we don't have the ability to go to c4 and attack this pawn here. So, you know, this one, bam. So you got to be kind of careful when you're, you know, you're calculating your stuff. So after we see the move g4, Firouzja goes ahead and says, I'm going to go h4. The queen does go to e4. And then we got the move king to h2. And I will say that black has started to kind of get, like I said, they got their foot in the door. They're starting to do a little something. You know, white's king is not the most, you know, not the safest, character right now. You know, black's king is kind of open as well. You know, so both players really do kind of have to be careful. The queen does take d4. And I was telling you guys a long time ago that is one of black's major focuses, to try to take this pawn on d4. So as it stands right now, you know, we do have a completely passed pawn on this d file. So, I mean, it's definitely a tougher position for white to have to play. Queen goes to g5 with check. Rook goes to g7. Queen goes to f5. We got rook over to f7. We got queen back to g5. King going over to f8. It is in this position that Wesley So does not want to repeat moves, because he is actually quite a bit ahead right here. So he wants to avoid trades and avoid repetitions as much as possible. So we got king down to h1. We got queen over to e4 with check. King goes to g1. We got the king going over to e8. The queen goes back to d2. We see rook over to e7, rook to d1, and then we have the move d4. And like I said before, I mean, this pawn is like the all-star of the position right here. You know, you definitely don't want to let it score a touchdown. And it is supported by a bunch of pieces right now. The queen goes to g5. We see knight down to e5. Queen goes back to d2. We got the move d3. Queen goes to f4. And we have reached a position that if you do want to pause the video and see what is the best move to play in the position, it's a nice one. Go ahead and pause the video and try to do so. Okay, so this move actually kind of goes against something that I tell you guys sometimes. Whenever you are a material, it's normally like probably 85–90% of the time beneficial for you to trade down, and you'll get into like a, you know, winning type of an end game, stuff like that. But in this particular position, it's not the absolute best to go into a trade right here because it is going to lose your central pawn. You'll still be up a pawn, so it's still a very winnable situation. It just takes a little bit more finesse. What we actually see in the game, which isn't the move that I was looking for, Wesley So does trade here, and he's just basically saying, hey, man, I'm going to go ahead and give up my central pawn, and then I'm going to get back one of the other pawns, and you do have this queenside pawn majority. So, I mean, it is a nice position, but like I said, it does take a little bit more finesse to win. Going back in the position, after we saw d3 and then queen came to f4, one of the things that you should notice in the position is the fact that white's rook is completely undefended on d1. So if you came up with the move queen to e2, you would be absolutely correct. This is a really absolutely great move, and it does put white in a little bit of a pickle. It allows white to get a little bit of material, but the all-star, like the most important piece in black's position is this passed pawn here. So you can give up a little bit of material to get you know, that piece rolling. So we would probably see queen to a4 with check, king sliding over to d8, queen going to a8 with check. So it does look like you're kind of getting yourself in trouble, but you're able to hide away from all of the stuff. The king goes down to d7, queen to a4 with check, and then we have the move c6. And like I said, this is a very, very big all-star. There really isn't a whole lot that's preventing it from pushing. And I mean, this rook is supporting as well. So, I mean, it's a really, really cramped position for black to be in, and you definitely don't want any knights jumping in here and closing your position down, and the king is literally not able to move. So this is very, very beautiful if you are on the black side. But like I said, we did have queen to f4. We got into the trading. We got into this position here. And then so we stepped over with the rook to c3. We got the rook over to d7. And like I said, I mean, this is still a good position for black to be in, but you do have to be a little bit more accurate. When you make like the move that's not the absolute best move, you usually need to like play really good after that, and so it kind of puts a little bit of pressure on you. We do see king going to g2. We got knight over to d3. We got king to g3. We got the move c5. King takes g4. We got the move b5. Knight goes to f5. King goes to f7. We see king up to g5. We got rook down to d5. Pin it and win it. Even though you're not going to win it, you're just going to pin it. We got the move rook to c2. We got knight down to e1 attacking this rook. Rook goes back up to c3. We got knight back to d3. So we repeated one time. We do see rook to c2. We got b4. Because, I mean, you got all these pawns over here on the king queen side, so you need to get that rolling. So we got b4. Pawn takes b4. Pawn takes b4. And you can already see that as white, it's really, really tough, you know, to stop these outside pass pawns over here on the A and B file. We got rook up to c7. We got king over to e8. We got king up to f6 because we're thinking like maybe we could try to put, you know, black into a checkmate, you know, box. But the king slides over to d8 and says there's not going to be none of that. Rook goes to a7. We got the move b3. It's getting scarier. Knight goes down to e3. Rook goes to d6 with check because why not throw in a spite check? Not a spite. It isn't even a spite check because black is winning. So it's like, I don't know, just an extra check. I mean, we are kind of getting low on time. I think the players only have like, Wesley has like 2 minutes and Firouzja has like 30 seconds. So, I mean, it's probably pretty necessary to try to get some time up. The king goes down to f5. We see the move b2. Rook goes over to b7 because you don't have any other moves you can make if you're white because you have to stop this pawn from queening on b1. We got rook down to d4. We got knight down to c2. Rook takes f4 with check. We see king over to g5. Rook takes f2. So now black has cleared all of white's pawns off the board. We got knight up to a3. And this is a really, really like depressing move to have to make. Simply because like you don't want, number one, you don't want your knight on the ram because it's going to be grim. But I mean, its only purpose in life is to basically give itself up for this B pawn if it reaches B1. That's you. I mean, I hate being in those positions when I'm playing games. We see a rook down to F1. And it is in this position that Firouzja resigns the game. And he resigns the game because he can see one chess. It's not a chess concept, but it's like literally an idea that black has. That it really doesn't matter what you do if you're white. Like, black is going to successfully be able to, like, infiltrate, like, get this move in. And I'll show you what move I'm talking about. Let's just say, for example, we play, like, one of the good moves in the position, which there are none. But, I mean, this is an okay move. Rook goes to b8 with check. You got king going down to c7. You'll probably see maybe rook going to b5. And then the idea is rook over to a1. This is the problem with the position that white cannot really do anything about. Because, I mean, are you going to give up your knight? You're going to move it somewhere? You really can't, because you have to give up your rook for the pawn. So it is suggested that rook takes here. But, I mean, you're just going to be able to, you know, get the knight. You know, you can even grab this rook if you want to. Like, it's just too much material. And like I said, even if you do other moves, let's say, for example, after rook to f1, you go like rook to a7 because you're like, hey, I'm just going to give up my knight for the pawn, and then I'm going to get this pawn. You still have this problem right here. And this is kicking, you know, it's kicking it away. So, I mean, it's bad. So, like I said, we do have maybe even rook to b5 in the position. It's all the same idea. Now, you do need a little bit more finesse if you do go rook to a7 because white does have the ability to capture right here. But you can capture here. You got the pawn there, and you have an outside pass pawn, so you're good. Anyways, so it got to a point where with Firouzja that it wasn't like ideal to play the position. I mean, he basically just got kind of slowly grinded. Just similar to the way like Magnus Carlsen will slow grind you. Even though the position will be like for like 30 moves, it's like dead even. So anyways, that was that game. I think it was pretty interesting. You know, queen to e2 definitely would have been something to see, you know, to kind of see how white tries to wiggle out of that. But I mean, you know, Wesley So still found like, you know, kind of a winning option. He just had to work a little bit harder for it. So I appreciate everybody very much. Mermin salamat aking mga kaibigan. Merci beaucoup, mes amis. And Khaley Mamnoon for anybody coming from Iran. And I'll see you guys next time.